I am Johnny Massacre, and welcome to the Johnny Massacre Show. This is the Wednesday Night Massacre. On tonight's show, Democrats win the Georgia runoff and win control of the Senate. In other news, update on the Chinese Communist Party virus. Cosmopolitan runs some woke body positivity articles. I give my take on the A-man, A-woman controversy. And finally, the Jaybird Vista headphone review. Who's fucking with me? Give me a fucking hell yeah! I got bad news for you, Trump fans. It looks like Republicans are going to lose control of the Senate. I actually didn't think this was going to happen, but it looks like it's happening now. Have a look at what BBC News is saying. They say, Georgia election, Democrats on course for Senate control. The Democratic Party of US President-elect Joe Alzheimer's Biden is on the verge of taking control of the Senate as results come in from two elections in Georgia. Pastor Raphael Warnock is projected to win one seat. Fellow Democrat Jon Ossoff leads narrowly in the other. So this hasn't been confirmed yet, but some people on Twitter, some Democrats are starting to gloat and celebrate. Chuck Schumer, with his fake-looking hair transplant, is getting rather excited. He said, buckle up, presumably for his S&M thrashing tonight, or it could mean that it's in the bag for the Democrats. Time will tell. The article continues, if they both win, Mr. Biden, Mr. Come on, it's Alzheimer's, mate. Mr. Biden will have a much better chance of pushing through his legislative agenda. And we will get to that later, what that might entail. Now, I also brought up an article on the Intelligencer. Have a look at this. It says, Warnock wins, Ossoff has narrow lead, Georgia election updates. This article says the polls have closed, the vast majority of votes have been counted, and at least one Democrat will represent Georgia in the Senate. Shortly before 2 a.m., several major news outlets projected that Raphael Warnock would win over Republican Kelly Loeffler, and with outstanding ballots remaining mostly in blue counties, surprise, surprise, and with outstanding ballots remaining in mostly blue counties, the Jon Ossoff win also looks near. Below is every developing thing you need to know about the dual races in Georgia, which will decide the control of the Senate. Schumer says both Democrats won, previews new era in Washington. Yay, we're going to have a woke era. Chuck Schumer, who has led Senate Democrats in the minority during the Trump era, is now poised to become the majority leader on the heels of expected dual Senate victories in Georgia. In a statement, Schumer said that both Democrats had won and that it feels like a brand new day. For too long, much needed help has been stalled or diluted by a Republican-led Senate and President Trump, he continued. That will change with a Democratic Senate, Democratic House, and a Democratic President. He delivered a more concise message in a tweet. Buckle up, says Schumer. So, yeah, it looks like it's all over, Trump fans, and this could be really fucked up. Meanwhile, today, Joe Biden is supposed to be certified as president. So there's going to be loads of shit going on in Congress. People hanging on by a thread to the slim chance of Trump retaining control as president will have their eyes on this. And some Republicans, especially Ted Cruz, Senate of Texas, will have a lot to say about election fraud. Some people are saying Mike Pence and various people will refuse to recognize certain electoral votes. We'll see. I think Emperor Biden from the dark side, Alzheimer's Biden, is going to be sworn in. It really looks like all signs point towards this. It's looking increasingly desperate to think that Trump might retain power. But anyways, that hasn't stopped Trump from uploading a few videos today. If you go over to Trump's YouTube, you can see this. He just uploaded a video. It says, happening now, historic crowds in Washington, D.C. in support of Trump. And the video shows quite a large crowd. But really, what you want is some dramatic swooping aerial shot or drone shot, not this thing from quite far away. It looks like a lot of people, but it's hardly the most people that I've ever seen in my life. So even Trump's YouTube is kind of looking a bit on the way down, on the way out. I'm sorry to bring you the bad news, Trump fans, but it really isn't looking good now. It looks like the Trump campaign is in its death throes, and I'm sad about it because I love Trump, and he just comes across like an everyman who waltzed into the White House, said, what the fuck is this? and just call out all the cunts. And now we're going to have Alzheimer's Emperor Biden reading from the teleprompter, slippery, slimy politician just saying what needs to be said, letting the swamp rearm themselves. But hey, you know, it is what it is. So that's going on. I don't want to bring you that news, but I just have to do it. So in other news, the Chinese Communist Party virus. Now, on the Johnny Massacre show, all it is talking about Alzheimer's Biden and the Chinese Communist Party virus. The Chinese Communist Party virus is probably the worst part of this, because that means you all have to stay at home and use your phone. You can't go out. You can't have any fun. All their cool individual independent shops are dead. All the clubs are dead. DJs have become wankers, sitting at home, streaming while they're pressing buttons to do their mix and then going, woo, like this. This is all it's come down to. So I'm getting tired of reporting on this, but there's nothing else going on in the news cycle. As for the Chinese Communist Party virus, well, there's various shit going on. We will get to that, but just before we do, I want to talk about the potential ramifications of Alzheimer's Biden not just becoming president, but also getting control of the Senate. And I'm afraid this isn't going to look very good, but I've just got to bring it to you on this dark day. So I'm going to find this tweet where a Democrat talks about what he's going to do once the Dems get control of the Senate. So have a look at this. This is a tweet by Chris Pappas, a blue checkmark bastard. He says flipping the Senate would be huge to get votes on popular bills blocked by Mitch McConnell. So they want to do $2,000 stimulus checks. They want to do the Equality Act, DREAM Act, Infrastructure, Voting Rights Act, state and local funding, pissing away your tax money, and climate action. Yay! So climate action means they're probably going to spunk loads of tax money on windmills and fucking solar panels. And if you know anything about that, to make a solar panel, you need to use, I believe it's cobalt and shitloads of coal, and the amount of coal you have to use in constructing solar panels, you might as well just burn it to create the energy. Apparently it's just as much, and it's going to cost loads of tax money. And guess what? When they set up all this green energy, it's going to create loads of new jobs. Do I get one too? That means raising your taxes. Yay! It also means they're going to have to set up countless councils and departments that require stationary staff funding, and they can take your money and piss it away while you're locked down and they go and wine and dine with the lobbying interest groups lining their pockets. Good fucking times. Equality Act is probably the most concerning thing that Democrats are going to try to push through if and when they get control of the Senate, and it looks like they have. So this is the Equality Act. Let's read what it says on Wikipedia. By the way, the owner of Wikipedia is a liberal. Just want you to know that. So according to Wikipedia, the Equality Act is a bill in the United States that, if passed, would amend the Civil Rights Act to prohibit discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity in employment, housing, public accommodations, public education, federal funding, credit, and the jury system. As of 2020, 29 states have not outlawed anti-LGBT discrimination. So on paper, this seems really good. No discrimination, right? Until you realize that LGBTQ movement has become a power-crazed, insane group of people who bully and take that power and just put propaganda everywhere. It's in movies, it's on TV, intersectional politics and social justice and basically liberal shit just ruin all entertainment. You're going to see more of that. But the most concerning thing is what this means by passing the Equality Act and prohibiting discrimination in employment, housing, public accommodations, public education, and the jury system. What this means is all of that is just a Trojan horse for democratic control. What that means is Democrats will take over employment. So every single job ever will be riddled with LGBTQ and anti-racism training. And that is basically to get people to vote for Democrats. If you criticize that, you're going to be called a racist. But if you don't criticize it, you're going to be okay. And silence is violence, so you have to state your position on the matter. You're antagonized into the political conversation. And when you do that, if you don't want to be cast out and cancelled because you don't want to call David Lucinda because David believes sex is amorphous and he can change his gender at will, that means you're going to have to vote for Democrats. So all this is a Trojan horse for democratic policies in order to bully you into the political conversation and force you to pledge allegiance to the Democrats. Otherwise, you're going to be called either a racist, a misogynist, or a sexist or prejudiced. And it's just a Trojan horse for democratic policies. Democrats want big government. They want to control every facet of your life from cradle to grave. And therefore, they want to take over the entire employment industry. They also want to take over housing. So you won't even be able to get a house basically without voting for a Democrat. Also, public education. What this means is you're going to get shitloads of liberal propaganda in education. So they're going to educate children to vote for a leftist president. They're going to educate kids to say that America is racist, America is terrible, there's loads of discrimination, black people are victims, women are victims. And if you say that's not true, then you're a racist, misogynist, or a sexist, and you're basically someone who has to be cast out. If you say it is true, you're okay, you're not going to be cancelled, you're not going to be branded as a heretic, and you have to vote left to prove that. So all the Equality Act is a Trojan horse for democratic policies, and they're going to put their insane radical policies into everything from getting a house to getting a job to school. They want to take control of your children. So that's basically the ramifications of the Democrats taking over the Senate, and it looks like they're going to do that. So good times ahead. Yay. So now we're going to go on to the C word. So here we go. Now, there's various things going on. Firstly, in Japan, where I'm at, yay! We're going to go into lockdown tomorrow, apparently. I think you still might be able to use the gym, but we're going to lock down for a whole month. I thought wearing masks works, right? Every single Japanese person I've ever seen ever is wearing a mask, and yet we're still going into lockdown. So what's the point of this? We go into a lockdown, and then we come out, and then we get the virus again, and we go into another lockdown. This doesn't make sense. The only people dying from this are over the age of 80 years old or have underlying health conditions or are obese. So those people should just stay at home. I don't understand. Why don't you just say, people who don't want to die and who are scared of the virus, stay at home? Right? And if they don't stay at home, that means they're not scared of the virus. And then just let them get it. If it's so deadly, they've made the choice to get it. Why are you forcing people to lock down? Because it's big government overreach, it's government control. People gravitate towards power positions just by the process of osmosis. It's just the human conditions. People accrue power without even realizing it. They just do it. And giving the government this amount of power has made them go mad. And it's turned into a globalist agenda where everyone's following each other, and all the people imposing the rules are not affected by the rules whatsoever. They're still getting the same salary, and they're not even following the rules. They're going out whining and dining. You've seen it in every single country. Every politician ever has not followed the rules that they've made other people follow. They're going out, having food, going on holiday and shit. This is what it's like to live in China. You're just getting a taste. And since the Chinese philosophy of Marxism is so popular in the West right now, with Black Lives Matter being the fucking flavor of the month, well, we're just getting started. And with Democrats taking control of the Senate, hey, we're going to be living in commie utopia very, very soon. So you can see Japan's going into a state of emergency, and that's fucking awesome. Then, this is really terrifying. Legal revisions would add weight to Japan's COVID-19 response. So this is the whole thing. COVID has basically made it possible to make laws on a whim without a vote, unconstitutional laws. You're just going to stay in your house, lose your job, and you're not going to come out forever. And people just go, okay, if you can make people do that, take away their livelihood, then you can literally make people do anything. The government know how far they can push people, so they're going to push through a whole load of other shit as well. The Democrats are already doing this. They're saying that climate change disproportionately affects black people. They're saying coronavirus disproportionately affects black people. They love intersectional politics, so now they're going to use this as an excuse to further create a victim hierarchy where black people and certain groups they're not doing very well, and they're going to offer socialism. They're just going to use the coronavirus as an excuse to push through all their leftist policies, and any country ever can use the coronavirus as an excuse to push through whatever policy they want. Now, Japan is really interesting because Japan has so far been a bastion against all this government tyranny, while America seems to have fallen to tyranny and everyone's locking down despite the evidence. Japan hasn't. And you know why? It is because Japan has a really hardcore constitution that doesn't let the government fuck around too much with the people. Do you know who forced that constitution through? America. So after World War II, they didn't want Japan to be tyrannical commie cunts or fascistic cunts or totalitarian cunts. So they put something in their constitution that made it extremely hard for the the government to push through rules because they didn't want it falling to tyranny. And guess what? Since then, ironically, America has gone the opposite way and it has become tyrannical and has forced people to stay in their homes unconstitutionally without any vote or without any fucking reasoning whatsoever. And Japan hasn't, because it still has the remnants of the old American philosophy. But if Japan does change their constitution on a whim and start putting through these weird laws, even I'm going to be fucked as well. And don't blame me for saying this is globalist, because the same shit is happening everywhere. Meanwhile, the super fucking rich motherfuckers get loads of money. Big tech profits through the fucking roof. Amazon, Jeff Bezos has a massive boner right now, and this doesn't bode well for the world. But all I can do is spread the message. And the only way this is going to stop is if you don't accept it. It's if you stand up against it. It's if you refuse to accept this government tyranny. More people need to speak out against it. More people need to stand up and say this is unacceptable. If everyone does that at once, they definitely won't arrest you all. And you have to do that. It's just like when the Russians fell to Stalin's communism. Everyone stayed silent. The guy who brought about the fall of communism, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, he said that the main criminals were not the commies who pushed through communism themselves and the Marxists. It was the people who stood by idly while all their friends fell. And he said if everyone stood up at the same time and refused to accept it, then communism wouldn't have even come through to Russia and hundreds of millions wouldn't have died. And by the same vein, you have to stand up against it. I'm fucking saying what I can. I'm doing what I can. I don't wear my fucking mask. I go outside. I do what I fucking want. And I'm trying to say the truth. You have to stand up as well. If you do that, the government will stop doing this. And until you do, this is going to keep going on. And it's going to get much worse. So that shit's going on. And you just have to look at the news cycle. If you go over to news aggregator might go in Australia and fucking hell, mate, sitting on the dunny. If you go over to newsnow.co.uk, just look at the headlines, how stupid this is. England's third national lockdown could last until 31st of March. So next 2 months we're going to lock down. And that's going to fix the virus because we've had loads of lockdowns before and that fixed the it didn't fix the virus. So why are we fucking locking down again? Masks, there's not enough evidence that it works. If it did work, then Japan wouldn't be going to lockdown. Lockdown, there's no evidence that it works. In LA, they've locked down harder than anyone else and they have the highest amount of cases. In Florida, they're not locking down and they've got much lower cases. The fact is the virus will keep going round and around and around until we reach herd immunity. What we should have done is we should have all gone outside, people with balls, risk getting infected by a virus that has a 99.9% survival rate, protect the vulnerable, the old people, keep them at home. We would have reached herd immunity and we would be fine right now. But we keep delaying it and we keep letting the virus get out of control by locking people down. The government don't give a shit about your life. The only reason they're doing this is because of the rival political party who plan to usurp them in the next election will use every single death as a political stick to beat them with. So the politicians don't want to have any deaths on their roster when actually what they should be doing is protecting individual freedom, which is what our ancestors went over the trenches and died for. Anyways, so yeah, that's in the news cycle. What else is in the news cycle? We've got UK car sales fell in 2020 to the lowest level since 1992 because of the lockdowns and shutting down the economy. And BBC is to broadcast free lessons during the latest national lockdown, probably infected with liberal propaganda to brainwash you still further. Yay! So thank God we've got the C word out of the way because I don't really want to talk about that anymore. What else? Oh man, really, today is just pure eye aid sprayed into your screen. Next, we've got Cosmopolitan. So the Cosmopolitan magazine type thing has run some issue with woke body positivity articles. So have a look at this. I find this shit really amusing. This is the latest issue of Cosmopolitan. We got some fat bitch who's very flexible. I will give her that. And it says, this is healthy. And that is categorically not true. If you're that fat, you will literally die younger. So this is like George Orwell's 1984, where Big Brother, the powers that be, say the opposite of what is true to just try to push through their bizarre agenda, their controlling, totalitarian, confusing, nonsensical agenda. In George Orwell's 1984, they say war is peace, ignorance is strength, and so on and so on. And this is saying fat is healthy. So this is just bizarre doublethink, where they're saying two things are true at the same time when they simply can't be. You can't be fat and healthy at the same time. If you're fat, you are unhealthy. So I'm not sure exactly what Cosmopolitan is doing. And that bird is fucking massive. Look at her. She's so fat. She triggers the elevator's maximum occupancy alarm all by herself. She's got to lose some weight. So, yeah, there's more of these. They did a few other covers, Cosmopolitan. They got some more porkers on there. Let's have a look at this. So we've got this, only £2, and we actually got one woman on the left who's not that fat, but she's a victimized group. She's a black woman, so we'll put her on there as well because we all want victims. She's not a victim in my opinion, but the left and woke people and Democrats like to see them as victims because they're racist. And we got fat bitch in the middle. She's quite lucky because she hasn't really put on that much weight on her face. And then we got fatty on the right. The good thing is they've got massive tits. That's the best thing about fat women is they got huge tits. You know, if you kind of get them back to your place and it's dark and you can't quite see the body, you just see the tits and kind of make out the face and she's all right. It's going to be okay. And the biggest waste of all time is a fat woman with small tits. That, I mean, I would just top myself if I was someone like that. But anyways, going back to Cosmopolitan. I'm just joking. Look, fat people, a lot of the time they eat because of stress. And it's like an addiction, right? It's not as easy as people might say. But really, being fat is not healthy. You're going to die younger. It's mentally, it's awful. The kind of food that makes you that fat is going to make your brain go haywire. And you're not doing enough exercise. Exercise is good for your mental well-being. And you probably drink a lot as well. And alcohol, lest I remind you, is poison. What? Alcohol is yes, it's fucking poison. That's why if you drink it so much, you get all fucked up and feel crazy. And if you drink too much, you die. So you definitely should not be doing that. And that's what's going on over at Cosmopolitan. Yay. So now I'm going to give my take on the amen, a woman controversy. So you might have heard about this. Some person somewhere in Congress, some woke Democrat, finished his little speech by saying amen and a women. Now, the irony is these Democrats are not religious at all. So why the fuck you're hijacking some religious mantra and then deconstructing it in your weird postmodern psychobabble? I do not know. So I don't even know what amen means, but I do know that it doesn't mean masculine. So if we go over to Wikipedia, amen is an Abrahamic declaration of affirmation first found in the Hebrew Bible and subsequently in the New Testament. It is used in Jewish, Christian, and Islamic worship as a concluding word or as a response to a prayer. Common English translations of the word amen include verily, truly, it is true, let it be so. Okay, so if I go on the dictionary to check out the etymology, it's probably going to tell us the Latin translation of amen. So it says Old English from ecclesiastical Latin, from Greek amen, from Hebrew amen. It means truth, certainty, used adverbially as an expression of agreement and adopted in the Septuagint, whatever that is, as a solemn expression of belief or affirmation. So it's got nothing to do with masculinity at all. And that just shows you how wafer thin this modern woke movement is. There's no research, there's no history. It's all based on feels and emotion. And it's just the oppression Olympics and how woke can we be? And it's basically like a form of mental illness. So how about you stop trying to normalize this stupid shit and just say true things. Just say true things. Don't go on feelings. Amen and a women. Say something stupid. And then when people say, hang on a minute, that's stupid, then you attack them. That's really toxic because you said something stupid. And then when someone called you out on your stupidity, you're trying to make a net negative by making other people more stupid, then you get angry. That's very silly. I don't want to be near people like this. So that's very silly. And at the moment, the people who say this shit, they believe that sex is amorphous anyways. They believe that men can be women and women can become men. They think gender is a social construct. And so why did they leave out all the other imaginary genders on the spectrum that they always talk about? Why not like a trans and shit like that? That's violence against trans, not mentioning them. Why are you leaving them out of the conversation? Are you trying to erase them from history? Seriously, what's that all about? What about all the trans men as well, right? The trans men, which is women who have become men. Surely now you're taking away their manhood. So all the victimized women who become men, trans men. Now you're saying, hey, women, what are you trying to do? Send them back to womanhood? That's such hate. That's such hatred. That's hate. That's violence against trans. Why would you misgender them like that? That's not right. And these people are all about being inclusive, right? They are taking the core principles of the Bible, which is historical and relevant, even though I don't believe in any of it, and they just shit all over it. They just, with their postmodern deconstructionist garbage. Well, how about I do that to one of their holy grails, one of their sacred things? How about Black Lives Matter? No doubt this person on the left, because he's an ideologue, he believes in all this, equality, he's also going to believe in Black Lives Matter. So you change amen to a women. So what about, I say, okay, Black Lives Matter, what about White Lives Matter? Oh my God, I did exactly what you did, but if I do it, it's racist. But if you do it, it's okay. This is a mental illness. These people, social justice, it's just all about social justice. Social justice, leftism these days is a mental illness. And I'm kind of tired of it. And all of this stuff, intersectional politics, gender, all that stuff, there's so much hypocrisy, and the left are in love with it. Going back to what we were saying at the beginning of the show, the senator who just won in Georgia, he's a black guy, and all I'm seeing online is, oh my God, black guy, first black guy to become a senator of Georgia. Dude is black. So fucking what? Is he good? Is the guy good? Because really, that's all I give a shit about. All I give a shit about is people saying is if he's good or not. And can we stop with this whole white oppression thing now? We had a black president for 8 years. He was re-elected. Now we've got a black senator in Georgia. Stop with all this shit. That racism is a minor issue today. We stop with all this shit. So what else are we talking about today? Well, wow, that was a really hardcore Johnny Massacre show. There's a lot of negative stuff going on. So I just want to give you something a little bit more lighthearted. Now, I'm going to review the Jaybird Vista headphones or earbuds. Now, I'm not very good at making reviews because to make a good review, you've got to know the vocabulary for materials and design. And that's really hard, right? So, for example, with a watch, how the fuck do you review this? It's made of metal. It's got a bezel. It's got a metal bezel. And the finish is really nice, and the hands are flush with the See, I've already fucked it up. It's really hard to review this stuff unless you've got a wealth of vocabulary. So I think reviewers for this, they sit around all day trying to learn this vocabulary to sound more intelligent than they really are. And I don't have this vocabulary, but I'm still going to talk about it because I want to share this with you. So are you like me? You've lost loads of wireless earphones over the years. After I lost my last pair and having spent 600 quid or something on wireless earphones in the space of a year, I thought, fuck it. And it's weird because I'm a music man, as you can see, by the wall of music equipment on my left. However, in spite of that, I've gone without music in my headphones for the last year or more. It's weird. I listen to music a lot on headphones, moving around through the city, and then I'll take a break and I won't listen to any at all. And I'm back, baby, and I've got these earbuds. Now, this is different from what's before. You might have noticed before they all had a cable connecting the two earphones, but now this is what's trendy. Apple have got their own ones, and fuck Apple because they used to be cool and innovative, but now they just sell out and do what's popular. And the things they innovate with become negative memes. One of their Power Macs looked like a fucking trash can. The next Power Mac looked like a cheese grater. The guy who designed the iPhone did that, and he consequently left. So fuck Apple. Anyways, if Apple are doing it, it tells you this is what's in. So it is wireless earbuds with no cable, and this is by Jaybird. And I just fucking love this. The sound quality on the Jaybird Vistas right here is fucking sick. I am a connoisseur of music, especially electronic music, which is some of the best and most difficult to produce music in the world. And I listen to some of the most technical genres, and I know about bass. I've experienced more bass lines than you've had hot dinners, sunshine. And I'm telling you, the bass on these fucking headphones is sexual. It is clear. It is so clear and precise, but it is round. It is round. It is not angular or digital or sharp or harsh or abrasive whatsoever. It is round. It is warm. And it is clear, and it is soft, and it is juicy, and it is just perfect, and it's big. And it's how, God, this is sounding more and more like a gay porn movie every second. But that doesn't detract from the fact the bass is amazing on these headphones. The volume at high volume sounds very satisfying, and it doesn't distort. Now, I have some weird fucking ears. I always had a problem with these motherfuckers staying in my ears. They come with 3 different sizes of plastic protrusions that stick in your ear. They fit in so nicely, and the earbud itself, I've got the smallest ear canals in the universe. I have my ears cleaned out yearly because I want to hear things clearly, by the doctor, and they told me with some astonishment I have the smallest ear canals they've ever seen, and they actually said that's probably why I haven't got tinnitus and have such amazing hearing, because my eardrums have an extra layer of protection. Maybe I'm like a mutant superhero of some sort. Anyways, it's hard for me to stick these earbuds into my ear without them falling out. These plug your ears so well, they fit snugly, even with my tiny little tight ear holes, baby. So that's a really another good point about them. And a weird unexpected bonus is when they're in your ears, you can't hear anything around you. They're kind of like earplugs. They kill a lot of ambient noise. Now, one of the best things about this is this fucking charging case, which is awesome. So it's magnetic. It's got 2 spots for the headphones. And because they don't have a cable, they can make something like this because the cable's not going to get in the way. Now, get in the way. Look at this. They fit in there snugly, automatically, magnetically, and then you just close it. Now, you charge it through the case itself. So you charge the earphones, you wear them. Then when they're running out of batteries, you put them back in the case, and then you can get more charge even when the case is not plugged in. These motherfuckers have come a long way. So I don't even feel any worry about these falling out either. They fit so snugly, so you don't need that wire anymore. Jaybird Vista earphones. And yes, Jaybird, I will take a cut of your next few sales from that free advertising I'm giving you. And I love this, and I love the case. Fucking awesome. So, finally for today, I'm going to play a song because we used to do that and we haven't done that for a while, and it demonetizes my video. But it doesn't matter because this is just an excuse for you to become a Massacre member. Become a Massacre member today and get exclusive access to content other people simply cannot find on my YouTube channel. Also, you get to communicate with me directly on our private message threads. So, you can monetize that way if you wish, because I'm about to demonetize this video by playing someone's song. I just think this is a cool 4/4 tech house song. It's called Conspiracy because there's been a lot of apparent skullduggery around this election, so I think the name Conspiracy is quite fitting. Let's play this, have a listen to it. This is quite underground. My over 65s crew, I want you to pay full attention because it might take a little bit of getting used to, but I'm sure you can appreciate it. I love this song. It's called Conspiracy by Sydney Blue, Sydney, like Sidney Powell, and Blue, BLU. Here we go. Let us listen. Song has some vocals in it, and it's very interesting because a lot of techno these days and house and tech house, I've noticed they've started putting vocals in, and I actually think it's political. And the people in the music scene are too afraid to say what they think politically, especially if it's not left wing, and they put things in that kind of have hints of non-left wing thought.
Rotating bodies, trapped in reaction, technology, strategy 4. It's the mind that they chose. Court just the logic. System collapse, they still won't acknowledge.
So you hear the vocal talking about court jester logic, and right now we've got a lot of stuff going in the courts, various Democrat-controlled courts not hearing Trump's claims of voter fraud and so on. And I don't think it's surprising that certain house producers, some of which are obviously politically minded, are putting these kind of vocals in their tunes. I do wonder if Sydney Blue is not a liberal and is trying to speak out against the liberal pathogen. You tell me. If you're not into this genre, this is just what I would call a roller. Like, you hear this shit in the club, and there's not too much variation melodically. It's just very hypnotic. Just keeps you rolling, keeps you moving. You don't want there to be too much melody because it will just distract from the zone. This kind of tune, you just get in the zone and roll out with it.
Rotating bodies, trapped in reaction, technology, strategy 4. It's the mind that they chose.
drum in this is sweet as a nut, mate. The music producer, I gotta give it to him, killed it with the kick drum. You think it's easy selecting a kick drum on a track like this? It's literally a lifetime of practice and hard work to get a kick drum that knocks like that. And I love that sound in the background that's kind of coming in and coming out repeatedly. I love sounds like that where you can't work out what it is. Is it a voice? Is it a synth? Is it a key? You don't know. It's kind of a unique sound whose origin is unknown. I just love sounds like that. So that's Conspiracy by Sydney Blue, just something I was listening to on my headphones. As I said, it's a track that really gets you in the zone. It's very hypnotic. The beat is driving, the kick drum is perfect, and it's got a kind of tom on the offbeat that adds a groove to it and a shuffle. Really nice. If you're into the genre of techno and house, that one will really tickle your taste buds. I'm quite curious to hear what you think about it if you're not into that genre. I do wonder if people not into electronic music like that, that's a little more underground, will still get something from that. Anyways, finally for today, I've got a few questions from Massacre members who have an exclusive membership. So Nicholas Gustafsson says, do you use an MPC type of setup or all in the box? So what he's talking about is this basically. This is an MPC setup. The MPC is a piece of hardware made by Japanese hardware developer Akai. Now, before music production was all computer based, it used to be out of the box, and it was mainly produced with hardware. And Akai made some of the leading hardware with these beat pads. And these beat pads, it creates a very esoteric way of making a song that is completely different if you were to use a keyboard to trigger the same drum sounds. And with the advent of computers becoming extremely powerful, external hardware kind of went the way of the dodo. But now we still have these digital devices. There's no sound in here. They're just controllers if you want to get that vintage MPC sound. So to answer your question, mate, I am mainly in the box. I don't use any external hardware containing sounds. All the hardware I have, which you see to my left, is just for processing the sounds. He said, if it's in the box, is that why you have all that outboard gear for warmth? So if you make music in the box, and by that he means on a computer, it's well known to music producers that you lose warmth because it's not real. It's just binary data making the sounds. And so people try to retain some warmth by getting equipment like this. Yes, that's why I have the equipment, but mainly because the drum sounds you can make with equipment like this is sexual. It just sounds so fucking good. I love the distortion. I love overdriving stuff through it and trying to make sounds that murder the dance floor. And I feel with valve distortion and vacuum tube based distortion, which is what most of this gear gives me, I can make sounds that will come out of a speaker in a different way to in the box. And that's why I have it, for the harshness, for the big sound. Lan Tran says, Johnny, I have one question. Hi, Lan. You know I've been fighting communism all my life, and the Chinese communists are the worst. Worse than the Soviet or post-Soviet Russians. That's pretty fucking bad, mate. Living in Tokyo, you must have a lot of insights into the Japanese folks, especially the youth's attitude towards the Chinese commies and their expansionist ambitions in Asia and over the world. Are the Japanese more inclined to having peace versus conflicts with big, bad, bully Beijing? Nice alliteration, love that. My point is, it's important that each and every country of the free world needs to stand against the Chinese Communist Party and not just relying on America. Thanks for sharing your insights. Look forward to hearing them, Johnny. You're a warrior. Thank you so much, Lan Tran. Well, as for the Japanese, the government is well against China because there's all those islands in the disputed China Sea, some of which Japan claims ownership. China claims ownership of fucking everything there because the Chinese Communist Party, like you say, are expansionists and they're massive cunts. So the Japanese government fucking hates them. Japanese people generally hate Chinese people. It's the most kind of open display of racism I've ever seen from any first world country. It's an open secret. Japanese people generally dislike Chinese people, and whether it's because of the communism, I don't know, but I think it's just because of a beef in the past. Japan was known for some war atrocities, for example, in Nanking, and there's just been a lot of beef between China and Japan historically. As for the youth, their attitude towards China, yes, they don't like them generally, but I don't think it's because of their expansionist ambitions. I just think it's because they've been told not to like them. I guess in some ways that's right if they're told not to like communism, but if they're just told not to like Chinese people, that's wrong in my view. I think any reasonable person would say that. And I don't think young people understand communism. People are apathetic towards politics in Japan, especially young people. They don't know anything really about communism. And I'm far more passionate against the Chinese Communist Party than even Japanese people here that are in the know. So sorry to disappoint you, but there's no serious movement against big bad bully Beijing and their expansionist, globalist, socialist communism in Japan among the youth or anyone else, I'm afraid. But it's fucking mad. See, you've been fighting communism all your life, and I guess you've had some experience of that. And in the West, people are flirting with communism. Disney flirting with communism, flirting with China, doing deals with them. Apple had, sweatshops there. No one should do deals with China in any way, shape, or form. They should completely blacklist them, because China, given half the chance, will take over the world and murder you in your beds or chuck you into a corrective labor camp. They're already doing it to the Uyghur Muslims. And you've seen how they react to any deviation of thought and any other religion. I find it funny. I saw there was a Trump rally in Osaka, and it's covered by the Epoch Times. And the Epoch Times is associated with some of the religious movements that China have persecuted and perpetrated organ harvesting against. And I see people on Twitter saying, yeah, the Epoch Times was broadcasting this news about the Trump rally in Osaka. But, they're part of this religious movement, so they're just against China. And I'm thinking, people in the West making excuses for China and their organ harvesting and their oppression of various religions just because someone spoke out against... Someone's showed their support of Trump because he's against communism, and because people have such bad Trump derangement syndrome. If you support Trump, even his message of being against the Communist Party that harvests organs and oppresses religions, that makes you a bad person, and Trump's a bad person. You will excuse China. That's how bad Trump derangement syndrome has got. It makes people side with communist China over common sense. So with that in mind, I have been Johnny Massacre. And I tell you what, mate, you better be back for the next episode. Otherwise, I'll be coming round your house. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And I really hope we talk about something other than the Chinese Communist Party virus and Beijing Biden on the next episode. Laters.